Welcome everybody. I'm the Air Quotes Comedian and this is the Polemics. Welcome. So, I was on the London Underground the other day and I asked the lady working there who the London Underground were fighting against and where could I sign up. The lady working on the London Underground said, "Listen very carefully. I'm going to say this only once. The London Underground is a metropolitan subterranean transport system and not an armed resistance movement. What are you? Some kind of comedian?" I replied, "I'm not a comedian. I'm just a man who has delusions of being a comedian." That wasn't comedy. It just has dreams of being comedy. What I said wasn't funny. It just has ideas of being funny. In my routines, I rail against things and people that I hate. Generally, the things and the people I hate have something inherently interesting about them. In contrast, the things that I like tend to be extremely mundane, which is a bit of an oxymoron given that the mundane, by its very nature, cannot be extreme, just like you cannot have a peaceful war. I like mundane things because the reality of me, in real life, is that I'm a deeply boring and uninteresting man. For instance, I am a fully fledged member of the Pylon Appreciation Society, which is a society that shares and appreciates photographs of pylons, the same pylons that bring electricity into your home. That's the kind of thing I find fascinating. You might think that this is just another so-called comedy routine and that I made up the Pylon Appreciation Society for comedic effect. But I assure you that this is not, in fact, a comedy routine, as evidenced by the fact it isn't funny. There really is a Pylon Appreciation Society, of which I am a fully fledged member, and there is no humour to be mined from that at all. Another thing I like is watching video footage of the London Underground. Not documentaries of the London Underground, just video footage of the sights and sounds of the London Underground, and the reason for this is because I like the London Underground. I like the extraordinarily long escalators that lead into some of the London Underground platforms, and I like the stairs that lead into some of the other London Underground platforms. I'm not prejudiced. I even like the elevators that will deliver you to the platform in some of the other London Underground stations. There is a variety of methods to travel between the street level and the London Underground platform. If you're unfamiliar with a particular London Underground station, then the method of transit between the street level and the London Underground platform will come as a pleasant surprise. I like the white tiling that is prevalent in much of the London Underground, the same tiling that can often be observed in public lavatories. I like the walkways in the London Underground. Often they're semi-cylindrical in nature and tiled with the white public lavatory style of tiles. You can almost smell the urine. I like the advertising posters in the London Underground. Not all of them, obviously, just the ones I happen to like that are on display in the London Underground. The advertising posters I tend to like are for artistic endeavours you can travel to on the London Underground, but which I never travel to myself because I'm not middle class. Thus, they evoke an exotic and mysterious air of alluring unknowability, of art and performances forever to be unseen by me, but nonetheless add to the milieu of the London Underground. I'm like a little urchin tapping on the window, looking at the warm lights and activity inside. "Please let me in, even though I'm scum. I want to watch a reinterpretation of Strictly Come Dancing mimed through a postmodernist lens too. Ah, but strict miming is a show for the chattering classes. It's not for me." I like the map of the London Underground, showing all of the tube stations within the London Underground. I like Harry Beck's revolutionary approach to representing the London Underground with a map of all the London Underground stations represented as a schematic that bears little resemblance to the geographical reality of London Underground stations. I like the colours of the London Underground map. I like the fact that although the map of the London Underground is complex, it is easy to use. A child, perhaps enchanted and impressed by the colours of the London Underground map, could easily use it perhaps to get to some exhibition or other, an exhibition advertised on one of the posters that can frequently be seen on the London Underground. I am of the opinion that the map of the London Underground is not only a work of utility but also art, not only a piece of art but the greatest piece of art in the entire universe. Leonardo da Vinci, who's he? I like the smell of the London Underground, a heady mix of ozone, stale sweat and a hint of rat feces. I like the iconic London Underground logo, as realised by Frank Pick and Edward Johnston, not only a work of utility, informing you as it does that you're in the London Underground, but also a work of art. Not only a work of art, of course, but the greatest work of art in the history of the entire universe. Beethoven, who's he? It wasn't rhetorical, but I'll supply the answer to the question, Beethoven, who's he? He's somebody you wouldn't expect to see on the London Underground, and if, by some sorcery, Beethoven magically appeared in the London Underground, he would fail to appreciate the wonderful cacophony of noise that can be heard in the London Underground. The London Underground has announcements on a tannoy system, delivering information to the passengers of the London Underground in a variety of different accents, but usually the announcements on the London Underground are delivered in that slightly posh English accent. Announcements on the London Underground such as "Mind the Gap." Announcements aren't the only thing to be heard on the London Underground. There's the drone of the tube train's electric motors as they arrive or depart from the platform on the London Underground. The general hubbub of the London Underground passengers can be heard, and if you're very lucky, there'll be a violinist busking on the London Underground. It's always a violinist busking on the London Underground, and never any other type of musician, because they don't busk on the London Underground. I like looking at the people using the London Underground. I might be a misanthropic curmudgeon, but I'm not so incurious as to gaze at the other passengers and not wonder about them and their lives and what exhibition or arts performance they might be going to on the London Underground, having seen the advertisement on one of the posters that can be frequently be seen on the London Underground, and then using the London Underground map to discern how they might get there, and then getting there by using the London Underground. The London Underground is mother, and the London Underground is father, the other mother. I like standing on the platform of the London Underground, peering into the London Underground tunnel, which is as pitch black as something that is pitch black. Then, in that inky darkness of the London Underground tunnel, a pair of lights can be seen, unwinking eyes. The clatter of wheels upon rails can be heard. Metal upon metal winces and squeals. A warm gust can be felt as the London Underground tube train pushes air out of the tunnel as it approaches. The whine of its electric London Underground motor as it arrives on the London Underground platform. The London Underground, as you'll recall, is something I quite like. I like the London Underground, as I said, and feel the only way it could be better is if it had some pylons so that I and a society of pylon appreciators could appreciate them. I like looking at the people using the London Underground. I might be a misaligned curiosity, but I'm industrious enough to gaze at the other passengers and make judgments about them based on nothing but how they look. An Iraq and a thermos flask? You know what? It's just my mate Nigel getting excited over the S7 rolling stock. I don't know what the train models are, or what the signalling system is, or what's what in the nuts and bolts of the London Underground. I'm an appreciator of the atmosphere of a liminal space emblazoned with a warmth of feeling into my memory, but while this has the hallmarks of the reminiscence of an old man under a glamour of nostalgia, I just wanted to see how many times I could reasonably say the London Underground in the space of about 9 minutes. 65 times as it happens.